Today we're talking about option contracts and merchant's firm offers. I'm going to tell you what they are and how they work. But it's really quite simple. It's basically just saying, hey, I'm making you an offer and I'm going to give you some time to accept. Don't worry about me changing my mind. But of course, there's rules that we need to learn in order to make that offer to keep an offer open enforceable. So first, let's remember that contract formation requires mutual assent, which is achieved through the process of offer and acceptance, and it also requires consideration, and of course, absence of defenses. Remember also consideration? That's what we mean when we say we have a bargained for exchange. That's going to become important in a minute. Also remember that an offer can be revoked at any time before it's accepted. That's the general rule. But of course, there's exceptions. There's always an exception. And this is where option contracts and merchant's firm offers come up. Under the common law, an option contract needs separate consideration to be enforceable. Let me say that again. Under the common law, an option contract, or a promise to keep an offer open, needs separate consideration in order to be enforceable. So let's say that we agreed that I'm going to pet sit for you for $50 next Thursday. The consideration for our original contract is my service of pet sitting in exchange for your $50. I can revoke my offer to pet sit for you at any time unless you pay me additional consideration to keep the offer open. Perhaps you're going to pay me another $50 or $1 or whatever. The key is that you're paying for the option to keep the offer open, giving you more time to accept. Here's a tip. If you see a written promise with no actual exchange of consideration, but there is a recital of consideration, that can be enough. So if I promise to pay you in writing, and I say I'm going to pay you $50 or just $1 or whatever for your promise to keep the offer open, that's enforceable under the common law. So now let's talk about the UCC's merchant's firm offers. This is when a merchant makes an offer to hold his offer open, giving you time to accept without worrying that he's going to change his mind. In this case, that specific offer is going to be irrevocable without separate consideration, as long as it meets the requirements of a merchant's firm offer. So that begs the question, what are the requirements of a merchant's firm offer? Well, first it needs to be written and signed by the merchant. So merchant status matters here. And then the writing has to sufficiently indicate that it's intended to be a firm offer. In other words, I promise to keep my offer open. This is a firm offer signed by a merchant. And that signature can be anything. It can be a symbol. It can be just letterhead, as long as it identifies the merchant making the firm offer. So written and signed by a merchant. Just know if the offer doesn't state a specific time period, it's going to be irrevocable for a reasonable time. Under the UCC, that period cannot exceed 3 months. So let's try some practical examples. Let's go back to my pet sitting example. And I've promised to pet sit for you in exchange for $50 next Thursday. And I promise to keep my offer open until Saturday. If I try to revoke my offer before Saturday, that revocation is going to be valid because there's no separate consideration to support my offer to keep it open until Saturday. Because we're talking about services. Common law applies there. Now, let's say if I write down my promise and in a written note, and I say, for an additional $1, I promise to keep my pet sitting offer open until Saturday. Even if we don't exchange that $1, then my offer to keep the offer is enforceable. I cannot revoke before Saturday because now we have a valid option contract supported by consideration. Let's move over to the UCC. This time, I'm a merchant and I sell turnip twirlers. And I promise to keep my offer to sell you 20 turnip twirlers for $20 each open until June 25th. Is that a merchant's firm offer? Well, let's go through the requirements. First of all, am I a merchant? Yes. I've told you I'm a merchant. I sell turnip twirlers. Okay. Is this in writing? Is there a signed writing? I didn't tell you that. But if it is in writing and it's on my letterhead or I sign it, I cannot revoke my offer before June 25th. If there's a signed written promise, then my offer to keep the offer open until June 25th is irrevocable because of the merchant's firm offer rule. Importantly, note that this is enforceable without consideration because we're dealing again with the sale of goods. So to wrap up, just look to see if perhaps the offeror promises to keep an offer open. If they did, and then tries to revoke that offer, you're going to need to discuss the rules for option contracts or merchant firm offers, depending on whether you're dealing with the UCC or common law. I hope this helps. Happy studying.